Chapter 15, September 2, 1963. A couple days after the Tate's dinner party, Ralphie took his first step without holding onto the side of the changing table. Then he took his second. A few days later, he wobbled all the way across the kitchen floor. I thought Mrs. Tate would jump for joy watching her son walk. For a second, I thought she might give me a raise, but instead, she just turned to Mama with a forehead full of wrinkles and said, "Oh my, they do grow up fast." Well, I'm sure Ralphie's coming along, because starting tomorrow, I need to cut back on my time with him. That's because tomorrow I'm starting 7th grade. Even though school lets out at noon this month on account of the heat, I'll have to come straight home to do homework before I head across town to see about Ralphie. Up until now, I was nothing but excited about 7th grade. But come to think on it, maybe I shouldn't be. After all, this is junior high school, and I've got Mrs. Jacks for a teacher, so I'm going to have to study around the clock. Still, Mom is keen on celebrating the big event. She even cooked up a new dish for supper. "Crawfish stew," she announces and sets the creature in my bowl. My stomach lurches. After Mama serves Uncle Bump, she carries her own bowl to the table, and the three of us sit together in the lantern light. "So proud of my little girl I could just burst," Mama says. "I'm not little," I say. "Well, I'm catching the jiggerbug thinking about you going to 7th grade at Colored County tomorrow." She says, "How many times do I have to tell you?" "Forgive me, what I certainly meant was," Mama cleared her throat like she's going to make a special announcement, "West Thunder Creek Junior High School." But I reckon I shouldn't get mad, because Mama doesn't know much about schools at all. She grew up on a cotton plantation and went to plantation school. Now get this, the plantation school was only open 6 months, November, December, March, April, and then July and August. The rest of the time, all the children were planting, chopping, and picking cotton. Mama's father, my granddaddy, was a sharecropper. He had a house on the plantation and a couple acres. Instead of paying money to the boss man who owned the plantation, he paid a share of his crop. When Mama got to the 4th grade, Granddaddy needed her to work the land all the time, so Mama dropped out. Because of that, Mama can only read baby books, so she can barely write, so she keeps the grocery list in her head. But my daddy grew up in the city, and when he married Mama, he made her promise their children he would get a high school education like he did. That's the only way for them to live free, he said. He told Mama that no matter how much money they'd lose by sending us to school instead of work, it would pay off in the end. So hard as it was for her to do, Mama raised us the way Daddy wanted. "Nervous?" Mama asked. A sharp pain jabs my belly. "I'm not nervous," I tell her. "No reason to be." I poke the crawfish in my bowl. "Why's that?" Uncle Bump asks. Something inside me snaps. "'Cause I'm not going." It's the first time since Elias disappeared that Mama laughs the way she used to, straight from the gut. I fix my eyes on the spineless sea creature in my bowl. Life's hard enough without my brother. What's the point of making it harder by going to junior high school without Delilah? Besides, Delilah won't ever be coming back to junior high school with me, because next year, after she finishes 6th grade, she'll go to charm school. She says she's almost got her parents convinced to let her. But seeing as I'm not a charm school candidate, tomorrow morning I'm going to have to walk 3 miles to Weaver with Cool Breeze Huddleston. 3 whole miles. For all the times I dreamed about holding his hand, now the thought of walking beside him makes me queasy. The white folks would let me into their junior high school. I could just mosey around the tracks, because their school's right here on the edge of town. Then I wouldn't have to walk miles with Cool Breeze, and I wouldn't have to think of what we would talk about while we walk. Mama clears my dish. Then she smiles at me and winks. My stomach growls, but there's nothing else to eat except rice and beans, and I have the fidget so bad I've got to jump. I take my rope outside the dirt patch next to the swing, but instead of saying something dumb while I jump, like "Miss Mary Mac, Mac, Mac," I say a list of all the things me and Cool Breeze can talk about, in case I decide to go to school after all. As soon as the roosters crow, my gut somersaults, and I don't even think about not going to school. How am I going to teach geography on television if I don't go to junior high to learn it? I pull my new yellow dress over my head, but it doesn't slip on as easy as it did back when it was the color of flour. After all, I've done a heck of a lot of growing this summer, though not in the most important place. But at long last, this dress fits, and just in time. No doubt Mama had it all figured out when she bought it for me way too big back in the 4th grade. Now I tighten the ends of my braids and run into the kitchen. "Don't she look beautiful?" Uncle Bump says, his mouth full of biscuit. "Sure do," Mama says, but her smile from last night is gone. She stands at the counter flattering dough with her palms. "Remember what I told you, no crossing to no place you don't." There's a knock on the door. Mama hustles to get it. No one's got to tell me she's hoping it's someone with word of Elias, but it's only Cool Breeze. "She'll be out in a minute," Mama tells him, and returns to the counter to pound out the dough. I put on my blue sneakers. I just got them last year. "This girl's grown like a weed," Mama told the salesman at the dry goods shop. "We need 'em big enough to last a good long while." As soon as I got 'em, I stuffed the toes with cotton so they'd stay on my feet. Now I tie up the laces and step outside. I exhale summer and inhale fall. Deep in my nostrils, a chill warns me times have changed. I hang the straps of my canvas sack over my shoulder and, like it's no big deal, stroll to the swing where the only other 7th grader from this side of Cuckoo stands ready to start a new life. "Hi," I say. "Let's go," he says back. Even if Cool Breeze does notice my yellow new dress, he sure doesn't get to admire it too long before Delilah steps into the yard. What's she doing here, I ask myself. She's not coming to Weaver with us. She's sure not going to West Thunder Creek Junior High School. "Your clothes got to match the day," Delilah always tells me. So I wonder why she's wearing a red dress, the one for when love is in the air. I notice how the part around her chest fits real tight. Besides this one and her church dress, she's got 2 others. A polka dot dress for good luck and an orange one with yellow iris down the back for courage. How a dress can bring you luck, love, or courage, I've got no idea. But I reckon it does, because it was right after Delilah got the polka dot one from Bessie that she grew enough breasts for a bra. You look nice, Delilah tells me. Then she punches Coolbreeze in the arm. You're not so bad either, she tells him. Sometimes I can't believe how stupid Delilah is. I'd like to tell her that. Instead, I just tweet, click, click. I only get to call for Flapjack once before Delilah says, "Don't tell me you're taking your cat to junior high school." Of course not, I said. Can't a girl whistle a tune? Then I turn to Coolbreeze and say, "Let's go." But he doesn't budge, so I've got no choice. I head off for school myself. I'm all the way at the end of the lane when I hear his footsteps on the dirt road beside me. Together we turn onto the highway. On both sides of the paved road, fields stretch into the horizon, exploding with fluffs of cotton. I hear awkward shouts and nervous laughs from kids in Titus and Bramble before I see them in their starched dresses and fresh pressed collars. Almost all of them wear shoes. Excited as I am, a part of me is struck down low because my brother's supposed to be here. He's supposed to start his senior year of high school today. And even though the high school for Negroes is 4 miles south on the highway, while the junior high school for Negroes is 3 miles north, I just know Elias would have walked me all the way to the front door of my new school. But now, instead of having my big brother lead me, knowing exactly how to go, I've got Coolbreeze Huddleston ramming right into me. I take an extra step to the side. The truth is there probably isn't a 7th grade student in the county moving on steady legs this morning. Scared, I ask him. At Acorn Elementary School, our teacher always told us there's no such thing as a dumb question. But I reckon that was a lie, because Coolbreeze is looking at me like I asked the stupidest question that was ever asked in the history of the universe, going all the way back to the dinosaur times. I swallow. Well, at least I know exactly what to say next. I've got a map of the United States in my bedroom. That right? Uh-huh. I think he might ask to see it, but he doesn't. I think he might ask where I got it, but he doesn't do that either. He just keeps walking crooked, his eyes fixed on the highway, his broad shoulders stretching out the white cloth of his shirt. Taken how his long fingers wrap firm around the handles of his canvas book bag. And I reckon maybe he doesn't like maps. Maybe just little kids like maps. Maybe he just thinks I'm dumb for talking about maps at all. So the slow grind of a motor sneaks up behind us. A tractor waddles by, and I think of what Uncle Bum told me about my daddy. Your father used to get in his jalopy, put down the road, take off his city hat, and go on 80 on that 2-lane road, waiting for another speeder to pass in the other direction so his car would spring up off the ground. Up, away, and sideways. That's how your father took life, Uncle Bum says, laughing. He'd drive forever to catch freedom in his hair. Whenever I think about my daddy, I picture a handsome man in a fedora hat with twinkling eyes and a breezy smile. I know one day Coolbreeze and me will walk to school, and I'll tell him all the stories about my father. That's when he'll hold my hand, but that'll have to come later, after we talk about other less important stuff. So I move to the third and final topic I've got planned. You think Cassius Clay will be the greatest boxer in history, I ask. Already is, he said. Better than Joe Louis? He nods. What about Jack Johnson and Sugar Ray Robinson? Cassius Clay is better, he says. Yeah, I know, I say, and that's the end of our conversation. I look out the plantation shacks that dot the cotton field. I wish Lavetta and Marcus could be walking with us today. But Lavetta and Marcus have to repeat 6th grade because they've missed so many days last year. Even though the plantation boss man got a cotton picking machine, the crop was wet and high last year, so it didn't work too good. Every time it rained, Lavetta and Marcus had to stay home from school to trail the machine and pick everything clear. Well, I'll tell you one thing. If Lavetta, Marcus, and Elias and Flapjack were here with me, then everything would be hunky-dory instead of the way it is now, me walking miles with Coolbreeze without anything to speak of it at all. It seems hours passed till at long last, the children walking a piece in front of us turned off to the highway to Weaver. Once I saw a postcard with a photograph of a sign that said Las Vegas in pink neon lights. I'll bet there's going to be a lit-up sign that says Weaver. I'm pretty sure folks there rush in every direction, carrying heavy books under their arms, pencils tucked in their hair. The more I think about Weaver, the less I think about Coolbreeze, and the faster my legs move till, I can't help it, I'm in a full sprint. What's with you? I hear Coolbreeze yell. It's still school, you know. I suck in my breath and close my eyes like I'm making a wish on a birthday cake. Then I open them and turn right into Weaver, into a brand new world. Chapter 16, February 3, 1963. Never mind signs with pink neon lights. The only signs I see here are the green street signs that crisscross on the top of the yellow pole. The Main Street sign dips on a diagonal like nothing can hold it up anymore. I glance around for the sign and lights, the girl with pencils in their hair, but I only see a shop with a plastic Coca-Cola sign on the door. Wooden boards are nailed over the windows, but the store's open. An old white man with rippled skin and a rim of silver hair sits on a bench in front of the shop, his back curved like a crescent moon. I look at the ground like I'm supposed to, but when Coolbreeze catches up to me, I can tell he's staring up at the man. Don't, I whisper. I feel that worm stuck in my lip. It seems Coolbreeze can't help himself. But I can't help myself either. I've got enough troubles back in Cuckoo. Lord knows I don't need more, so I grab Coolbreeze and yank him away. As soon as we get down the road, he pulls a hand-drawn map out of his pocket. Me? I raise eyebrows, but keep my mouth shut. Left on Park Avenue, cross the track, then head north. And one thing's clear. Coolbreeze isn't too cool for maps after all. When we get back to the brick building, we see the school principal outside the door. He's dressed up in special in a yellow and blue striped bow tie. "Welcome to West Thunder Junior Creek High School," he says. When I hear those words, my chest opens up like a daisy. I follow Cool Breeze through the crowded hallway to room 7, where I stand beside him in the doorway and take the sight of our new teacher. The instant I see her, a rush of pictures fill my mind. The burning cross, the panic, the crowd. And Mrs. Jacks is in the last row singing "We Shall Overcome." Today she looked magical. She sits at a desk on a platform in front of the classroom. She wears a plaid dress and a string of beads. Each one has a letter of the alphabet on it, and a carved mahogany walking stick rests at her side. But Mrs. Jacks isn't the most out of sight thing in the room. No, sir. Get this. There's enough desks for every student in the class. Well, Cool Breeze finds his courage somewhere. He adjusts his chin forward and saunters to an empty desk in the back of the classroom beside a girl wearing a pink skirt. When he gets there, he slinks down in his chair and sticks one leg out in the aisle. Next, it's my turn. I take a hint from him and thrust my chin forward. Then I claim an empty seat in the first row in front of a boy who's got horn-rimmed glasses. I choose that seat for 2 reasons. First, I can get there with the least number of steps. Second, I can't have Cool Breeze thinking I want to sit next to him. Once all the seats fill, Mrs. Jacks clears her throat and leans across her desk. A hush grows as she looks up and down each row, inspecting one student at a time. When she sets her eyes on me, I feel her drink in the details of my life. A faint smile crosses her lips. I can't help but wonder, does she see the bald spot in the middle of my left eyebrow? Does she think I'm not ready for 7th grade? By the time she raises her head to examine the boy behind me, all I can say is it's a miracle I'm still alive. The minutes drag on. There's no talking, only the sounds of kids setting pencils on their desks, fidgeting with their lunch bags, soothing wrinkles into their clothes. At long last, our teacher smiles wide enough for all of us to see her 32 teeth, including the gold one on the bottom. Then thwack! Before I can smile back, Mrs. Jacks slams her walking stick flat against her desk. I cover my lip with my hand. "That's it for the nice stuff," she says. "Listen up and listen up good. Y'all talking to the only teacher in the school who'll get within 11 feet of a 12-year-old boy's by choice. Y'all probably noticed that once you reach that special birthday, most teachers run from you like you've contracted the most bubonic plague. Now I'm sure you'll understand to the utmost that other teachers here would rather be buried alive than take up such a despicable and rewarding task as teaching the likes of you. All I can say is when I'm a television teacher, I'm going to be nice. I'm not going to say things like that make people twitch on the inside." Mrs. Jacks lifts her walking stick over her head. "Y'all got one foot stuck in childhood, the other stuck in growing up. One hand plucking sun from daylight, the other picking moon from night. That's why I call y'all midnights. And the thing is, you midnights are losing your balance. That's where I come in. You need my help." It's true. Sometimes I'm so mixed up and don't know what to think. And with Elias missing and folks believing he's dead and gone, I could sure use someone to set me straight. "We're all Negroes in this room?" she asks. "Yes, ma'am," I answer along with everyone else. "As Negroes, we've got to run faster, work harder, and think better than all the white folks combined. So that's what I'm going to expect y'all to do in the presence of a lady like me." Again, Mrs. Jacks leans across her desk. Her eyes settle from student to student. "Well, at least y'all aren't dumb as a donkey's bottom like most grown-ups I know. They only believe what they see with their eyes," she says. She raises her eyebrows, her shoulders, her neck, almost her whole waddling body without getting up from her seat. Then she calls roll. When Mrs. Jacks gets to me, she says, "Miss Addie Ann Pickett, come over here." While I push myself up from my seat, I hear kids from Darwiller, Titus, Bramble, and Weaver lean across their desks to gossip with their neighbors. "That gawky girl could be his sister." Then thwack! Silence. As soon as I get to her desk, Mrs. Jacks whispered, "I'm awfully sorry about your brother." She takes my hand. "That boy was beyond brilliant. He was going places. College was just the start. He was going to join the movement, wake up this world. He was quite a speaker, quite a leader. I know that wherever Elias is, he's thinking of you, wishing you well on your first day of 7th grade. Well, I've already learned one thing in junior high school. Mrs. Jacks doesn't know how to whisper. Her raspy voice knits across the front row, tangling up one student after the next in its secret message. If you're going to bawl, you should know why. But tonight, after my first day at West Thunder Creek Junior High School, I'm lying in bed crying for no reason. I listen to the plinkety-plink of rain on the rooftop till nightfall before it occurs to me. Maybe there's a reason for my tummy turning inside out. Maybe it's because at West Thunder Junior Creek High School, nobody jumps rope at recess. Or maybe it's because I thought there might be a maid to clean out the classrooms, but instead it's just like Acorn Elementary. We've got to scrub the classroom clean ourselves, so we can't start learning till the second week of school. Or maybe I'm a miserable wreck because I used to know Elias was okay even when Mom doubted it, but I don't have that feeling anymore. I look at my brother's bed. A wreath rests on his pillow. The ladies from church brought it with a basket of hush puppies. I lift the wreath off the pillow and place it against the window screen. Then I lie down on my brother's bed, and through the circle of the wreath, I watch the circle of the moon. I know right now when the moon is full, Mr. Mudge needs to harvest his crops. But who else besides my brother can pick 4 bushels of butter beans, 3 buckets of cucumbers, 2 bushels of peas, and 7 bushels of sweet potatoes in a day? No one. That's why Mr. Mudge had to hire 2 people just to take my brother's place. I remember the night Elias dragged himself into the kitchen last spring. "Pick my record!" he announced with a weary grin. Y'all invited to free dinner at the corner store. Of course, Elias was just joking. Everyone knows it, even though we're free to buy what we want from the corner store. Only white folks are allowed to sit at tables there. Elias plunked a grocery bag onto our kitchen table. But look at this, he said. He pulled out a sack of butter beans, 4 pork chops, and the 4 bottles of cola Mr. Mudge gave him for doing outstanding work. By the time Mom and me cooked up the chops and beans, my brother was sound asleep. I pulled the sheet down from his face and said, "Time to eat." But Elias snored on, so we celebrated without him. The chops were sensational, and Uncle Bump, Mama, and me ate those butter beans every night which way, fried, mashed, and boiled. That night, after I got in my bed, I belched louder than a tractor motor. At long last, Elias woke up. Was it good, he asked. The best, I told him. Elias grinned, but within a minute he was snoring again. Nothing could ruin his sweet dreams, not even me burping into the night. Now rain thunders on my roof while I slip under my brother's sheet and smell baseball mixed with sage. I shut my eyes. My breath slows till it sounds like the fall wind whistling through the trees. Then even the sound of my breath is gone. There's a river in my chest, a river that runs clear and smooth over 100 rocks in the way. I look down on the river from above. I feel the river from inside. Sunlight covers me. It is me. It's my skin. It's the sky. It's the edges of my mind. Gooseflesh runs over me like a wave. My skin pricks up high, waiting. And I know my brother's spirit is here. Not his ghost, but his spirit. What is it? I ask. I listen for his answer, but all I hear is rain hitting the roof. You don't need to say anything, I tell him. I know you're proud.